Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege for all of us that we have amongst us today Padma Shri, Dr. Ramakant Deshpande. So we would request you to please join us on the dais. I would request Mr. Srinivasan Iyer, the founder of the HR Club, to please welcome Dr. Ramakant Deshpande. Sir, I think I'm too small to say anything in your introduction. The honor conferred to you by the government says it all. Padma Shri, you have devoted your life to the people. So I wouldn't stand between you and the people, and I would request you to address the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and I am most honored to be here and very thankful to the HR Club for considering me for this participation today and to be in presence of such an august audience. Any of the titles, though the prizes, the awards, rewards actually work as a high octane kind of a fuel for further efforts, any of these awards actually summarize the group achievement rather than an individual achievement. And particularly, I'm a cancer surgeon. I'm Dr. Deshpande. I worked for almost 25 years in the Tata Hospital. Then we left as a group over a period of time, having completed our terms of contract. And then we formed another group called Asian Institute of Oncology. And we are functioning out of the Sion Somaiya Medical College campus today. Dr. Advani is our chairman. We're almost about 40 of us. When we came out of the hospital, we realized a few things. One is cancer, as you know, is a very, very age-old remedy. It was found even in the Egyptian mummies. So it's an old enemy which is like more than 3,000 years old. But when we put the accumulated experience of all the 40, 50 of us, we realized that we have an accumulated experience of nearly 1,000 years, man years, as far as fighting cancer is concerned. So we continued as a group. And we are very comfortable with each other. We have reasonable experience in treating this particular malignancy. The institute actually treats patients, but any institute for that matter has to have service, research, and education as its objective. So we also do a lot of clinical research. We do genetic research. We do rehabilitation, so on and so forth. You saw a film just now with a bit of a gloomy ending. Almost about 90 to 95% of patients who were diagnosed of cancer in the 1970s, late 70s, that's the time when I got into my studentship, used to have an ending of that type. Today, I would say that almost about 30% of patients will escape this kind of a gloomy ending and they'll practically get cured. What do you mean by cure? There is a normal lifespan. For example, somebody who's lived, a child which has lived till the age of 5 is expected to, a girl child will survive till 71 and a boy will survive till the age of 69 today in India. That's the average lifespan. As you go along, if you are hit by a disease like a cancer, that life is cut short. So when I say cure, it means that you are expected to go up to that level and be absolutely all right, though you will need checkup and all that. But you will hit the normal kind of a growth curve, life curve. It is a matter of time before this thing goes to almost about 60 to 70% through the coordinated efforts of the health sector, both the pharmaceutical, the industry, the hospitals, the medicines, the doctors, the research, everything together. 5% of our malignancies in our country are genetically determined, which means that they can run in families, they can run in relatives, they can have their origin in genes. If you go deep into the analysis of what is exactly a cancer, cancer is like a virus in your software of your computer. So every time that you boot the computer and come back, at some stage the virus will show, it will twist your whole program in such a way that it will start making mistakes, and at some time the computer will shut down and it will become totally useless. So replace the computer body with a human body and you have exactly the same picture as what you have. So ultimately, all cancers are genetically predetermined. Every cell has a function of multiplication and its specific function. For example, a liver is formed when you are still in the womb, but the same liver you don't carry all through. The cells are being replaced all throughout your life. Each cell has a finite life. Some cells live throughout your life, like brain. Brain cells don't multiply. They'll go through, if you live till 104 years old, your brain cell, when it goes, it will be also 104 years old. Whereas the buccal mucosa cells, they get replaced in 48 hours. So each cell is replaced by another one, exactly the same number, the same size, the same place, same function. So that has to be controlled by some kind of a program. And if something goes wrong with the program, invariably, the specific function takes a toss, and the unpleasant function of multiplication, ulceration, one cell eating another cell's nutrition comes in. So all this understanding is definitely getting better. Once the understanding gets better, you try to reverse. Today, we can actually genetically map an individual. There was a time when it was thought that each cell, the chromosomes carry almost about 130,000 genes, which means that each gene has a certain plan or a software with it for certain specific cells. So the scientists decided that they will do a genome project. They will map the whole genome so that they will know exactly in which cancer or which metabolic disorder which gene is wrong. And finally, it was a program of $3 billion, 15 years, 2002, it was completed with actually a lot of help from the industry, from people, from lay people in the United States actually chipped into their home computers. So it was like a massive, huge kind of an exercise. And they found finally that there were 40,000 genes totally. And you can almost identify the genetic abnormalities today. So you know what exactly is wrong in which type of a cancer. You don't know what to do with it as of today, but it's just a matter of time. We didn't know how to put a person on another planet, but it happened. At some stage it happened. And we are looking at probably a possibility of having a colony today. So it's just a matter of time where we will have this kind of a thing. The Asian Institute of Oncology today is doing a lot of genetic research. We don't have a genome panel for the Indian population. We are almost like one Europe into one country. There's a unity in diversity. But diversity also brings a bit of its problems, not the kind that we see all the time now in the newspapers, but the genetic problems, what we see is each genetic, for example, breast cancer is more common in case of Parsis. There is a specific, consanguineous marriages, genetic problems in that. The Gauda Saraswat Brahmins, the Kashmiris, these are the groups where you will find increased incidence of breast cancer in their women. And this is the reasons. But we don't have still a genetic panel for these kind of patients. So the Asian Institute of Oncology is actually doing a lot of basic research in these, establishing the genetic panels for our country. This is a mammoth kind of an exercise. It will go on for many years. We also have a tissue repository, which means that any tumor which is taken out, actually you store the tumor cells. So to study the characteristics of those tumors, you can actually get better knowledge of how exactly to tackle those. Standard institutions will automatically, cut and remove the disease, that's the surgery, or give chemotherapy for the treatment, or give radiation therapy. All those things are standardly available. But what is going to bring a cutting edge is this basic research, epidemiological findings, and an aggression. I would like to say here one thing. We are very happy to slowly change from a developing country into a developed country. Who doesn't like that? But understand one thing, with progress also comes problems. So today you have almost 350 people in the United States out of 100,000 get cancer during their lifetime. The same proportion is less than 1/4 in our country as of today, because we are not at a developmental level of the United States. We are still don't have the exposure of the hormones, medicines, the environmental factors, so on and so forth. It's just a matter of time. What we are looking at today is almost about 1.1 million people getting hit by the diagnosis of cancer today, of various types, out of which 60% will die in 1 year. So that is the kind of, the proportions are very large. 110,000, 1.1 million people getting that. This is likely to double in the next 10 years and quadruple over a period of next 20 years. How does it really translate? If you really translate into a mega this thing, our annual national budget is almost about 35,000 crores. The cost of meeting the cancer care for the current load of people is 15,000 crores, which obviously no government can actually bear it. So just as what we thought, when we started this particular institution, we said that we will actually do our best in whatever best way possible. So our motto is excellence in cancer care at affordable cost. So that is what we have been doing. We've been striving with basic research, we're striving with epidemiological research, we're striving with clinical research, and we will continue our effort without any respite and with continuation. Thank you.